back with Christine Quinn. I'm Gerson Borrero in City and State TV. Christine Quinn, the person who could have been mayor of New York City, writing to this interview on the New York City subway. I think it was a number 6 you took, right?
I was, yes.
On the number 6. We're down in the financial district, or somewhere in around there in Chambers Street. Tell me, this transition, I remember, I've got to tell you, as an elected official with power, I criticized you a lot. I said things about you.
Once or twice.
Once or twice. I wrote things about you. I wrote them in Spanish and English. I said them, nothing personal, but rather the fact that you held all this power. You walked out of City Hall. I remember that scene. There were a lot of people out there saying goodbye.
Very nice.
So you carry that with you. Where is Christine Quinn right now? That person that I know it's in your blood. I know politics is still there. So where are you right now as a New Yorker?
Well, I am still a New Yorker, right? Which makes you the luckiest person in the world.
Absolutely.
So I'm here, and that makes me thrilled that I get to live in this great city. And I'm continuing to do the work I care about. I loved being on the city council, and I loved getting to do the work I did as a city council member. But right now, on different not-for-profit boards I'm on, as a special advisor to the governor, before that as a fellow working with students at Harvard, I'm continuing to work on issues relating to women, the LGBT community, immigrants, survivors of domestic and sexual violence, and that's the work I've done my whole life. And I'm very happy that I found a way to continue to do that work. I just worked with Governor Cuomo, and we got a statewide bill passed, it'll be a law soon, to give greater support and protection to victims of rape and sexual assault on college campuses. So I'm doing the work differently than I had planned, but it's important to remember it's about the work, not the position. And as long as I'm going to get to continue to work on those issues, I'll always be happy.
I'm a good listener, and I don't think that you actually said speaker. You just mentioned city council members. You didn't say speaker, and it seems that people were looking at you as a, no nonsense. I mean, just the battle to be speaker you went through. Let me ask you, in hindsight, should you have let Bill de Blasio be the speaker? Maybe things would have turned out better for you. I don't know. I'm asking. People don't know people in politics know the background. And you went at it. You just outmaneuvered everybody.
That's funny.
You did the things that every speaker has to do in order to be elected or selected, and the county leaders, and
That's funny.
Some people worked out deals, whatever agreements. Should you have, in hindsight, maybe I should.
Well, you know what? Life doesn't work in hindsight. And
no.
You're in the moment.
And you don't get a do-over.
And you don't get a do-over, and you're in the moment you're in. And as speaker, and as a city council member, and as a health committee chair, I was that also, I'm very proud of what I accomplished. So would I have loved to have been mayor? Yes. But would I have given up being speaker and leapfrogged to that? I don't think I would have, because I really am so proud of what we did, me and my colleagues and the staff, when I was speaker.
The question that I'm sure you tossed around and all of that, when there were winners, everybody was, I'm the one that made a winner. There's no father or mother for defeat.
That is true. When you won, every person you meet, you won. By the time everybody on the street tells you they voted for you,
forget it.
You won 100%. It's remarkable. Look, at the end of the day, I really believe in a campaign. If it doesn't work out, and if it does work out, and I would give the Mayor de Blasio credit in this regard 100%, it's about the candidate. And I take responsibility for the things that didn't go well in the campaign, whether some were out-and-out mistakes, others were just miscalculations or things that didn't go right. I take responsibility for that. And I say that for a couple of reasons. One, because the people who worked and volunteered for me killed themselves. Worked so hard, and they did absolutely the best they could. Two, when you're the person in charge, the buck does stop with you, and that's important. And three, for me, it's important to look back and recognize where I made mistakes or where I could have done better versus putting it on somebody else. Because if I don't do that, then I'm never going to do it better in the future, whether that's run again or be a board member or run a not-for-profit. Whatever I'm doing, I want to do it better than I did the thing before. And if I put it on somebody else, I'm not going to learn what I'm supposed to learn from the loss.
You have provoked like 3 questions at the same time. I'm gonna maybe take a risk here and see where if we can take it in orderly fashion as they came into my head. Do you have, top 3 mistakes you made, or top 1, or top 2?
I think, I was very, very proud of my record, as I am. Mm-hmm. And we probably and we should have talked about my record a lot in the race, but we probably spent too much time talking about my record versus vision for moving forward. We had one kind of as a standalone versus following it in. 2, I think, look, a woman, a lesbian running for mayor, a little bit of a non-traditional candidate.
I would say.
We ran a traditional campaign. You know what I mean? We ran a traditional campaign, and therefore we're probably too cautious.
Should you have run more as a woman, a lesbian,
I think
on
so.
that kind of platform?
And a more aggressive in that sense of the potential for moving everyone forward when you have a leader who comes from a community that hasn't always been at the table.
Number 2.
So I think, I think number 2 would be to have been too cautious. We were probably too cautious.
Was that because of the indication of your advisors, the polls?
Maybe, And then 3, probably not able to, no, it was tough because the polls shifted very late.
Yes.
And so not having seen that shift early I think in hindsight, I felt it.
In your gut?
In my gut. But
and you didn't follow the instinct?
I didn't follow the instinct. And, boy, whether it's a big thing like that or I should have gotten the, salad instead of the hamburger. Anytime I don't follow my gut, it works out badly. And so I hope that'll be the last big time I didn't listen to my gut. I should have kind of jumped up and down to the staff and said, this isn't me freaking out. This isn't candidate-itis. I feel something.
There's something wrong.
Yeah.
Michael,
so any candidate who's watching, if you feel that in your gut, jump up and down.
And I'm going to ask you, but I have to ask you, Michael Bloomberg was not distancing yourself from, as I call him, Miguelito. He loves that.
I'm sure.
Miguelito, not distancing yourself from Miguelito. Was that a mistake?
It's a complicated question because inherently in that question is the idea that the election and the campaign stands alone from the governing. Mm-hmm. Now, Bloomberg and I disagreed as much as we agreed, but the agreements overpowered the news coverage. Right? There's no question about that. So a question for me is, what could I have done to balance that out? Right? But to have really seen like we were in disagreement, right, or distanced myself, we would have really had to probably go at it more aggressively in the government versus the campaign. The question I asked myself then is, if I did that, would I have achieved less for New York as speaker? And probably, because we all know that Mike Bloomberg, right or wrong, didn't like that kind of jousting and battling. So then I would have...
So it was more about his style and you getting what you thought you needed. Okay.
For the city.
I got you.
And then, so I would have gotten less for New York here, not knowing whether this would ever have come true. And fighting with him would definitely have helped the election. But I don't know whether I would have shortchanged New Yorkers in some of the results we got. So it's a complicated question for me that I go around in my mind about sometimes.
That leads to another question before I go back to something I have to ask you, which is in everybody's mind, and I assume you're going to answer yes. But is it fair from the part of people like me in the media who are sort of giving a pass to the it's mentioned the relationship of the existing speaker with the existing mayor. We criticized the hell out of you guys when you were, it was a longer period of time, and we're sort of giving a pass. It is accepted that, the mayor is responsible for the current speaker being who she is. Is that fair, or do you look at it and say, okay, they'll find their way?
No,
you have no resentment at all.
I know, because I'm happy about it because it gives the council more space and room to do what they need to do. Yeah, so I'm happy about that. And this is going to sound kind of silly, but I really love the council as an institution. You noticed I said council member, not speaker. So anything that can help that institution do better is good in my eyes.
Are they as independent now as they were with you? They gave you a hard time. I know that you controlled a lot, and people accused you of all kinds of things, and probably you're guilty of 50% of it. But
the fact is, the way it works out.
But the fact is that do you think they have that same spunk they have with you?
Yeah, I do. And look, anything when it's first starting gets a little while to ramp up. But I think they're today. They may be tomorrow. I'm pretty sure they're today. hearings on police legislation
Right.
that the mayor is not supportive of. Obviously, a big victory for the council and independents in getting more police officers, in the budget. So the bail fund proposal the council had, not something the mayor supports. So I think we're really seeing that.
Do you think right now that I know, Bill, if you had been the mayor, would Bratton be a factor as police commissioner? Would you have considered, or would he been? Would you have selected him?
I don't know for sure if I would have selected him, but I would absolutely have considered him. I mean, I think Bill Bratton was a great police commissioner and is being a very good police commissioner right now. You can't take away from Bill Bratton his skill in having been a New York police commissioner and commissioners in other cities. And he's anybody who gets elected mayor would consider for sure.
Okay, rapidly on this, because I'm going to ask you about Governor Cuomo.
Okay.
Are you going to run for office again?
I hope I have that opportunity. I hope. I loved being an elected official, although I think I probably wasn't the greatest mayoral candidate in the world. I think I was a pretty good elected official. And I'd love to have the opportunity to serve New York again in that capacity. I'll be a better candidate the next time around.
You would run for mayor again?
Well, I'm not running against Bill de Blasio. Let me be clear about that.
Okay. Come on, you could have. Wow, geez, what did you do that for?
Because I don't need edits created by you. I hope to have the opportunity to run for another office someday, whatever that might be. But there isn't any campaign or job right now that I'm planning.
That you're seeking?
No.
Have you had people call you and say, Christine, come on, you got to take so-and-so on. Come on, throw me a bone here. You already blew the whole thing.
You said you had another question.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so we're going to move on. All right, where's the Women's Equality Party? What happened to that?
It is in the process of all of this legal paperwork, rules, writing, putting the state committee together, the chairs and stuff. That's all in process on the time frame that the State Board of Elections sets out. So it will technically exist, so to speak, in the near future. And that's a whole kind of, you write rules, you create a state committee, you have an executive committee. They're soon to have their first meeting. So that process is going on as we speak. And in the legislature this year, 9 out of the 10 points of the Women's Equality Act passed. We
Correct.
also passed the sexual assault and rape law on college campuses. We did not codify Roe versus Wade into law. So that is work we still have to do, as well as no one ever thought those 10 or 11 issues were the sum total of the women's agenda in New York anyway. So that's more work we have to do.
Governor Cuomo, you're an advisor. When that was announced, I said, advising governor. He doesn't listen to anybody but himself. I mean, I'm sorry, Andrew, but he knows it. But no, seriously, how is that going? I mean, what are you advising him on? I don't mean the specifics, overall. Is it women's issues? Is it issues in general? Is it policy issues in general? Because you have a lot of experience in all matters, and you dealt with Albany.
Yeah, it's women's issues, LGBT issues, some issues around immigrant issues and immigrant legislation, issues around food policy, violence against women. So an array of different things as they've come up and as they'll continue to come up. But the big thing I worked on first was the rape and sexual assault law, which was much more challenging to pass than I had ever imagined, and I'm thrilled we did. And I now want to work with the governor on getting other states in the union to replicate that. So Kirsten Gillibrand, our senator, is doing a great job in Washington, but it's going to be hard for her to get a national bill passed. But we could take New York's bill state by state and really get it done. We didn't get the Gender Equality Non-Discrimination Act passed this year. We have to get that done. We didn't get the ban against conversion therapy that Senator Hoylman introduced done. So there's a lot more on the LGBT agenda also. And there's also other issues related to how we deal with bullying and violence against women and LGBT people where we could be doing better in New York. I don't know if you saw last week, the New York Civil Liberties Union and others, a terrible report about our state education department failing to implement the Dignity for All Schools Act that David Patterson signed into law. And transgender students are suffering because of that. And the governor over the weekend sent a letter to State Education Department saying, I demand to see a plan, because it's weird that State Education Department doesn't actually report to the governor because of the regions. It's a different structure than you might think. So that's an enormous issue that we're going to have to stay on top of.
How often do you talk to the governor?
Well, in the thick of the end of the legislative session, I was talking more to folks like the council and stuff, just because he was always in the room with Flanagan and Carl, but as much as I need to.
Okay.
Though I try, if I don't actually have a need, I try to not bug them. But when I have a need, trust me.
Okay. Christine Quinn, this has been a wonderful conversation. It's good to see that you're happy, you're enjoying yourself, you're having fun, you're impacting policy on a public level. My exit question, Hillary in 2016.
Yes, 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 exclamation point, exclamation point.
Are you campaigning for her here in New York State, or are you traveling for her throughout the state?
I haven't traveled anywhere yet, but I would go anywhere and do anything they needed. And I'm just thrilled that she's running and thrilled to get the opportunity to support her. And I just can't wait for her to get elected.
Christine Quinn, those are the last words. I guess, would you serve on a Hillary administration?
Who wouldn't?
On that note, I'm Herschel Barreto. Thank you so much, Christine Quinn. Great seeing
Thank you.
Best of luck to you, and I'll see you on the campaign trail.
Yes. Be nice to her.
To whom?
Hillary.
Oh, I'm always nice to her. As nice as I've been to you.
Give her
Herschel
point,
Barreto for
exactly.
City and State TV. We'll catch you on the next one.